Hello. We are back. We are live. How's it going, everybody? We're going to be doing something different. We're sorry if the YouTube notification messed up there. Um, Hopefully, we got that fixed. So, we're going to be talking about something that seldom ever gets talked about, seldom ever gets viewed. We're going to be talking about World War II, and one of the things that, again, doesn't hardly ever get talked about. So we're going to throw our warning up here because we're going to be talking about some different stuff. The program contains wartime imagery, including historical material that includes depictions of Nazis, Nazi symbols, racial stereotypes, language reflective of the World War II era. These portrayals are presented in their original context for historic and educational discussion. These views do not reflect Mission 4938 or the VFW. Viewer discretion is advised. So we're going to jump into the PowerPoint. So right off the bat, one of the things we're going to talk about is nutrition during World War II. The basic 7 food groups. And we've seen these different food groups in different things before. And it's kind of breaking down what you're looking at here with the food groups on what they're putting out. And again, these are getting put out by the government for people to look at, for people to see what's going on. And kind of make determinations based off of what's available. And so this was a unique kind of propaganda that is talking about, it's talking about what people should be eating, what you should be eating while you're in the war. So we're going to flip over here. So here's another one, Victory Garden for family of 5. It's laying out how to place a Victory Garden in there. These were given out by seed companies. These were given out at different stores, trying to convince you to grow your own stuff because there was such a huge shortage of food, especially fresh vegetables and fresh fruits during the war. So they're encouraging people, get out there, plant a Victory Garden. Ration book recipes. That's another big one. These would come out with your ration book. So this is ration book baked beans. If you want to screenshot that and make those yourself here later. But they're putting out recipes, and these recipes are altered from what people were normally eating because while you're still getting the baked beans, you were having trouble getting things like molasses and sugar and bacon and other products like that would directly affect what you can make. And so they're trying to give you some different recipes than you would have had before. Victory meat extenders. If you ever knew anybody that makes hamburgers with oats in them or different things like that, so that way that stretches that meat that much further, that's where some of this came from. It's an entire book based off of how to stretch meat a little further than it would normally go. And so again, these are being put out. This one's being put by Cork Hill Fine Meat Products. So Cork Hill was actually putting this out because they knew, okay, you can't get that much meat. Let's find a way to satisfy those people that are currently buying it. Here's another sign. You would have saw this up in the grocery store. You would have saw this anywhere you're getting your food. Eat more cottage cheese. 1 pound of cottage cheese is equal to 1 pound of any meat. So again, cottage cheese wasn't really popular until we get to this point where meat is being sent overseas. It's being used in the war effort. Post a card will bring recipes. So again, you're able to write in and get recipes for things with cottage cheese, things like that, because they're trying to extend those products. Another one you're going to see up around that time, food is a weapon. Don't waste it. Buy wisely, cook carefully, eat it all. Follow the National Wartime Nutrition Program. So there was a whole program based on nutrition that was going around in the United States during these times. And then this one here, how to shop with your war ration book, part 2. To buy canned, bottled, frozen fruits and vegetables, dried fruits, juices. I'm in favor of overuse of cottage cheese. It's one of my favorite pastimes. That's great. So it's explaining how they can use their ration book. And then the next one, War Ration Book 1, this is just the warning. So it's 10 years in prison or a $10,000 fine if they catch you somehow faking or cheating to get extra rations. And so everyone got one of these, Office of Price Administration. So again, everything was kind of over managed, kind of put in place there. So that way they would have the nutrition and have the stuff for the war effort. So we're going to jump in. This next video comes straight from the War Department. It is nutrition in the war. Let's take a look at it.
In a world where millions are starving, America has become the breadbasket as well as the arsenal of democracy. Our farmlands and ranges must produce more food than ever before to supply our own needs and to help our fighting allies. In spite of record-breaking farm production, food requirements are mounting even faster, for American food is being used to defeat the Axis and shorten the war. Americans not in the armed forces will get less of the common foods to which they are accustomed. But by rationing, by sharing what we have, and by using our food supply wisely, our nation at war can still support a healthy, active people. Today, in the great human laboratory of England, the principles of nutrition are being conclusively proven. The subject of this great wartime experiment in food are not white mice or guinea pigs, but human beings fighting for their lives. The average English family has learned the value of food through years of wartime scarcity. Cheese and eggs have been rationed, and the supply of butter is limited to 2 ounces a week. But the English have learned to substitute. Vitamin preparations developed in the laboratory are added to some foods, such as margarine, to enrich the vitamin content. Foods such as the English wheatmeal loaf, dried peas, beans, and cereals have been recognized as nerve conditioners at a time when iron nerves are needed most. Vitamin B foods supply physical energy not only for those in combat duties, but also for English industrial workers who are turning out the weapons of war with the enemy only 20 miles away. Desk workers, also under strain, need energy foods too. Vitamin D foods such as margarine, herring, and sardines are widely used by adults in England. Cod liver oil and milk are distributed in special rations for children only. Imported fruits and vegetables are seldom seen in English markets, but fresh vegetables are...
Give me 1 second. We're having technical difficulties. Let me pause this real quick.
The average English family has learned the value of food.
We're absolutely getting... I don't know if... Are you guys getting audio out there? I'm not getting any audio.
Cheese and eggs have been rationed, and the supply of butter is limited to 2 ounces a week. But the English have learned to substitute. Vitamin preparations developed in the laboratory are added to some foods, such as margarine, to enrich the vitamin content. Foods such as the English wheatmeal loaf, dried peas, beans, and cereals have been recognized as nerve conditioners at a time when iron nerves are needed most. Vitamin B foods supply physical energy not only for those in combat duties, but also for English industrial workers who are turning out the weapons of war with the enemy only 20 miles away. Desk workers, also under strain, need energy foods too. Vitamin D foods such as margarine, herring, and sardines are widely used by adults in England. Cod liver oil and milk are distributed in special rations for children only. Imported fruits and vegetables are seldom seen in English markets, but fresh vegetables are grown in victory gardens everywhere. Old and young alike are mobilized for the job, so that the home production of food in Britain has almost doubled. Since the outbreak of the war, 6 million additional acres of English soil have been put under cultivation. No patch is too small to start growing. Soldiers, when off duty, tend their own little plots in the shadow of their guns. For them, food is ammunition. A part of the food grown in English victory gardens is contributed to community kitchens where balanced, nutritious meals are prepared for all. Because they are learning to use their food supply carefully, many people of Britain are better fed today than ever before. We in the United States have not had our food supplies bombed, burned, or torpedoed. Yet, many Americans are starving not for lack of food, but because of poor eating habits. In this restaurant, patrons could order nutritious food, but too many don't.
Same today, miss?
Yeah, I guess so.
Draw one, 2 sinkers.
Too many people eat the same kind of foods every day. Eat without pleasure, without variety, as a matter of routine. Quick lunches are the order of the day, and most of these are inadequate. Malnutrition resulting from habitual poor diet saps the strength of American manpower. Inefficiency results. In many cases, production has been slowed down because of layoffs and illness among workers who lack the physical stamina that good food can build. A large proportion of defense workers suffer from unsuspected physical defects associated directly or indirectly with malnutrition. The strain of long, hard hours of work has increased the number of breakdowns. In Army induction centers all over the nation, examining doctors found rejectees starved for the foods to give them the steady nerve, the clear eye, the strength of bone and muscle to fight and win a war. Today, through the work of government and other agencies, millions of American workers are learning the simple facts of proper diet in a nationwide nutrition program. Dr. Thomas Parent, Surgeon General of the United States Public Health Service.
Good nutrition and good health are inseparable. No one can do his full part in the war effort without good health. Realizing this fact, government agencies have joined in a national nutrition program and are working with your state, county, and city nutrition committees in their attack on local nutrition problems. You can help just by helping yourself to the right food. Make a real effort to choose a nutritious diet every day. To do this, every citizen should have a down-to-earth working knowledge of modern nutrition. Resolve now to study the daily nutritive requirements recommended by the National Nutrition Program. Study, too, the nutritive values of the many foods now available. You can be well nourished by planning your daily diet carefully, by using wisely the many nutritious unrationed foods, and by using your full share of ration foods. Every one of us must do this, for today we have no choice. War demands that no one waste food. War demands that we use the good foods available to us to build an armor of health.
Appetite alone is not a safe guide to good nutrition. To teach the simple facts of good eating, public nutrition classes have been set up in churches, schools, and factories. With wise planning, good meals can be had at low cost. American women are learning how to prepare foods with greatest economy, with least waste of vitamin content, and how to substitute the foods we have for the foods we can't get. Above all, experts on food emphasize the importance of balanced diet. in which variety is essential. Every American worker should have 3 square meals each day, including foods such as milk and foods made with milk, eggs or other protein foods, and vitamin B foods such as cereal and whole wheat or enriched white bread. A good breakfast is important, but on the job, the worker's lunch pail must supply the necessary energy for the rest of the working day. Sandwiches of meat or peanut butter can be made more appetizing if fresh lettuce is included. Fresh fruits are valuable additions to the worker's noonday meal. In the evening, chicken, fish, liver, or sweetbreads are excellent main dishes, with green leafy salad and cooked vegetables such as peas or carrots. Milk, fruits, and vegetables are basic protective foods for Americans working longer, harder hours in offices and factories. To keep up health and morale, many war plants have set up central food kitchens to prepare appetizing, nutritious meals for the men who build the ships and make the guns. Whole wheat and enriched white bread are used in sandwiches with cheese, peanut butter, and different kinds of meat. The average worker needs twice as much green vegetables and fruits as he now consumes. So on the menu of most kitchens are vegetables such as carrots, spinach, cauliflower, and lima beans, and other inexpensive and often overlooked dishes such as squash, parsnips, and hot soups and stews, rich in many food essentials. Good foods can increase the worker's efficiency on the job, reduce accidents, waste, and absenteeism due to inadequate diet. The men of our armed forces eat 1/4 more food than they did in civilian life. And in the same way, workers transferring to war jobs from less strenuous work need better food and more of it. At work or at home, in restaurants and cafeterias, in their selection of foods, American workers choose the way to good or to poor health, build or undermine the strength of our nation.
So as they're going through and showing this again, you've got to think all of this is designed to get the American people to
we can build here in America a tougher,
watch how much they're
more
consuming.
vigorous nation.
They need to keep consuming enough calories and enough things to stay productive in the factories, stay productive where they need to be at. But at the same time, they're wanting to ensure that they have as much food as humanly possible to send over to the war effort. The U.S. needs a strong, eat nutritious food. And again, it's just kind of going through and pushing that same narrative all the way across. And as we're looking at this, we're kind of looking at it through the lens of what can help America and what can help America win the war effort. And so today, when we're seeing these kind of things, we don't see them as much in food production anymore, because a lot of food production is such large factory farms and such factory production that you're seeing it. You don't see, oh, we need to monitor how much food we have, or need to monitor what we're doing that way. But there's always some things, like when was the last time during the global war on terrorism that people were seeing the giant signs, blood drive, blood needed, things like that, war shortage of blood. Those kind of signs were still being seen and kind of showing that kind of stuff off. It's now kind of a different atmosphere on that. And so keep that in mind as you're looking at things, especially as conflicts are increasing across the globe. Kind of look at that, what is being seen as a help sacrifice so that we can win the war. The next thing we're going to look at is manpower. This is something that else very seldom you ever hear anything about. So we're starting out here with the Homemaker's War Guide. So it's talking about what they can do, canning foods. It's talking about conserving things, finding ways to ensure that every ounce can go back into the war effort. Because again, America wasn't the industrial superpower as it is today at this point. We were just getting up there on that field. So some of the other things we're looking at is don't be a job hopper. Our soldiers are sticking to their guns, stick to your job. Because again, we're going to be learning a little bit more about this through the film, but people were poaching workers to leave one job and go to another for better pay. People were jumping around from job to job, learning training skills. And the problem was they'd have to put more money back in there. Hey there, how's it going there? So people are jumping from job to job, kind of showing off a little bit of damage to the war effort. So we're kind of looking at that same kind of thing. I found a job where I fit best. Find your war job in industry, agriculture, business. These are being put up by the American government, and they're at the beginning of World War II. Miles of hell to Tokyo. Work where you're needed. And that's the other thing. They're trying to convince people you need to work where you're needed. We're going to be talking a whole lot about that throughout this next video as well. Women, there's work to be done and a war to be won now. See your U.S. employment service. And it was a whole, almost like a branch of military set up for the sole goal and the sole purpose of getting women to work during this time period. And then again, here we see the soldier may die unless you man the idle machine. So again, if you had questions, they were trying to get you into work. And we're going to see that through this manpower video put out by the U.S. government for the purpose of getting people into employment. So we're going to jump back up and get our warning again. The program contains wartime imagery and historical material that includes depictions of Nazis, Nazi symbolisms, racial stereotypes, and language reflective of the World War II era. These portrayals are presented in their original context for historic and educational discussion. The views do not reflect Mission 493 or VFW. Viewer discretion is advised. The United States government presents Manpower.
There are 100 million of us, men and women of working and fighting age. To fight this war, 10 million more people must go to work by the end of 1943. Before the war, half of us worked. The other 50 million kept house, went to school, played, or looked for work. Today, employment offices are deserted. For every machinist available, for example, 22 are needed. For every riveter available, 4 are needed. Employers, faced with this crisis, pirate workers from other war plants by promising higher wages. One idle machine can halt an entire production line. Chaos exists on the labor side, too. Workers hear rumors of high-paying jobs, fail to ask what skills are required, and rush to critical areas. Uprooted, homeless, they are an added problem. Places to live are so scarce that men sleep in shifts in what are known as hotbeds. Plainly, such confusion will not speed our war industry. We organize ourselves for this war. We set up an agency headed by Paul V. McNutt.
One of my first steps as chairman of the War Manpower Commission was to appoint a policy committee of representatives of labor and management to help locate and solve our manpower problems.
Overcrowded Baltimore is the test area. Manpower and Army experts decide that such production centers have unused labor sources to uncover before calling in migrants. Business, labor, and government meet. Union delegates pledge to curtail job switching among war workers.
We do not want any man in the essential war industry to leave his job without first clearing through his union. If our workers
So they're trying to convince people not to leave their job, even if it's for better pay. Don't leave your job. Stay at your job.
we want them to stay.
Employers sign anti-labor pirating pledges. Now Manpower has 2 tasks: locating skilled men and training new labor. First, the Selective Service Skills Survey is used. A beer salesman was once a pipe fitter.
I've been with this company 10 years. There's a lot of seniority to give up.
Well, we'll see what can be done about it.
So these people are scouting people out of their current jobs and trying to get them over into these new jobs.
Join the armed forces. Your job will be waiting for you. Thank you.
Now he builds ships.
So go from a beer salesman to helping build ships for the war effort. That's a huge jump over
The second
there.
large source of skilled ex-workers is found among storekeepers.
I've got a nice little store built up. What shall I do with it?
Well, maybe you can sell it.
As their establishments are
Yeah, just sell your
transferred to
store.
without critical
That's easy
skills,
enough.
many small
We're not in the
businessmen
middle of the
discover they
Depression
can
while
earn
this is
more
also
at war
going on.
jobs than they did in business. There is no time to train men in skills that take years to develop. Manpower's next move is to list all non-war enterprises which can be called upon to give up skilled workers. The
So again,
commissioner
they're going
informs
into
the
businesses
department
and
store
saying,
manager
hey, look,
that a gun carriage plant urgently requires men.
hey, we need you to quit your job at this place. It's not important. We're going to have you go and work over here where it is involved in the war effort.
Leo, you want a job?
Okay with me.
Within the war plants, skills are spread. An experienced machinist breaks down his job so that parts can be handled by new men. The second phase of Manpower's program is to find and train people for the millions of jobs that do not demand long-time skills. Unemployed or employed below their best capacity are 1 million Negroes.
Do you want to learn one of these jobs, Hubert? Well, then that's the one for me.
That was a weird response. Well, that's the one for me. Not.
Such workers trained for jobs of vital
But again,
importance.
this was a great advancement for people who were not skilled laborers to learn a skill.
Men who have lost their jobs as a result of the shutting down of peacetime enterprises affected by priorities on materials. Salesmen, clerks, clothing workers in specially affected areas learn new trades. In a month or 6 weeks, a man can go to work as a welder on ships, tanks, guns.
What I'm doing?
Okay.
Oh, that again, weird. Okay, so but that's insane. If you, we're gonna pause that real quick. So if you didn't catch that, they're saying they could take someone who's never welded before, and in 6 weeks they're going to be welding tanks. They're going to be welding large-scale artillery guns, and they're going to be welding ships. That's absolute insanity. In 6 weeks, going from never knowing how to weld to being able to weld those things that are so crucial for the war effort.
We must call upon women. At first, women go into service jobs, releasing men for the army and for war industries. Out of 50 million women at the beginning of the war, 10 million were working. In war towns all over the United States,
Again, that's crazy to think about. Out of 50 million women, only 10 million were working, whereas today that would be so much more common that you would have the opposite of that. You would have more women working than being at home. And they actually talk about it in almost a way of like, well, we're going to have to call on the women, folks. But today you got to think most women are in some kind of in jobs and different things like that, and in skilled trade jobs, whether in STEM or was it STEM or non-STEM related activities. So it's kind of unique seeing here the first real introduction of women into the major job sets at this point.
women are called upon to leave their homes and take jobs. Among our young unmarried women and among older women whose children are grown, we have a large reserve. They discover that factory work is usually no more difficult than housework.
Old
Employers
women
find
and
that
young
women
women
can do
go
many
into the
jobs
factory.
as well as men. Some jobs better. Training schools are open for women. Light metals used in aircraft are easy for women to handle. But they undertake every form of shop work, even invading such fields as welding, hitherto reserved for men.
They're invading the welding field that's been reserved for men.
Patience and accuracy attract them at once.
How do you like it?
I love it.
So
Both
great
of them
is
are
the
deaf
need
now, if you can't
that
tell from how
employers
loud it
come
was
to the
right there, no
schools to
hearing
select
protection.
and hire women before they complete their course. Those who wish to remain and finish their schooling. Tens of
They look like
thousands of
Mrs.
women are
Doubtfire
already
from
at work in aircraft. More are being added as fast as they apply. This solves the breadwinning problem for many families whose men are at war.
And
The
again,
government's policy is
we're
that
seeing
women
that-
should get the same pay that men.
seeing that they're saying that solves the breadwinning problem for men who are off to war. So it's kind of pretty much saying, hey, look, even though they're off to war, they're not able to bring in enough money to keep their family going when they're off to war. So they need that second income. And right here, you're saying that they're talking about how women are demanded to get the exact same pay as men going into this, and that was one of the structures they set up to bring the women into the jobs.
Can get for similar work.
What do you do with your money?
Save it.
Where necessary, machinery is adapted for women's use. When a hand drill weighs heavily on feminine muscles, the lazy arm drill is introduced to take off the strain.
I love how they named
As
that,
women
the
are
lazy
ready to
arm
take
drill.
factory jobs, the Army assures them this will not necessarily affect the draft status of their husbands, so long as they're maintaining a bona fide family relationship in the home.
So what they're saying there, if you didn't catch it, they're saying that women who are married, this won't affect their husband's draft eligibility, because there were women that felt like if I go into the workforce, my husband immediately not doesn't get drafted, but gets added higher up, so that way their chances of them being drafted are higher up. So there are a lot of young women, a lot of young wives who had just become wives or had just become mothers, instantly were terrified of going into the skilled workforce, because they thought it wouldn't necessarily stop their husband from getting drafted, but it would actually increase the odds they would get drafted.
By the end of 1943, 1 out of every 3 women will be at work.
1 out of 3.
When
I think
married
it's
women
now
with small
way
children have to take jobs,
reverse of that.
everything possible will be done to provide day care for the children. In the meantime, as men are drawn from the farms into our armed forces, America's youth finds its place in the war effort. Thus, the Manpower Commission utilizes voluntary means to organize our entire population for war. But we've already indicated through a national poll that we're willing to have such a program enforced by law.
So right there, similar to Canada, so Canada had a law in place that so many, at such an age, you had to get a job, and such a percentage of women had to be employed. And they're saying right here, and if anybody else has seen it before, this was one of the first times I had seen that, where they were saying if enough women and children didn't go into the workforce, they would pass a law to make them go into the workforce. That's not something I've ever seen touched on or even hinted at when it came to World War II. And it's such a vast departure from what the reality is that we see today. Nobody would assume, we're at war, so they're going to force certain people to go into different jobs.
Today, a vast network of government employment agencies acts as our war manpower clearinghouse. If you are retired, your local U.S. employment office may arrange to train you for work right in your own community. Should you be physically handicapped, you will find your country is making special efforts to adapt your abilities. 4,500 local offices of the United States Employment Service are guiding us to our places in the war effort. Don't move around on your own. Consult a government agency first.
So again, another thing I've never heard referred to: if you were retired, they're going to put you back into the workforce. If you're disabled, they're going to put you into the workforce. And don't move. They don't want you to move jobs. They don't want you to move locations unless you get a hold of somebody first and say, hey, we're moving. So again, a lot of this was being framed about the freedoms of America and going over and fighting against totalitarianism. But at the same time, America was putting in some pretty strict requirements on its citizens of don't move around, don't switch jobs. So many people are going to be in the workforce. We're going to decide who goes into the workforce and who doesn't. But this was all building up to help America be able to compete in World War II.
If you're a woman who has never worked, you will find courses ready for you. Prepare now. You will be needed. By the end of 1943, 1 out of every 2 active Americans will either be in war production or in the fighting forces. The rest of us will be feeding, clothing, housing the frontline fighters and workers.
So again, if you catch that 1 out of 2, which they could just say half, either half of the people will be in active combat in the military or be in production of equipment going to combat. That's such a huge percentage of not just the population, but also the financial markets and everything else. Half of everybody would be contributing in some way to the war effort, whether it's actively in service or building the equipment and the production that is needed to fight the war. That's an entire demographic of America. Like, everyone would know at least somebody who was either helping prepare for war or actively in combat. That's on a massive, massive scale.
Only then will we be fighting with every muscle. Only at that point can we say that all work is war work.
So again, we're looking at, that was Manpower, talking about how everything is involved in production for the war. And again, some of the things that we were seeing in there are things that I've never seen before. I don't know about if you guys have seen anything like that before, where the entire production, how people are going into the workforce, how people are going into different other skill sets and learning skill trades, how everything kind of became government run during that period in the war. It's such a huge departure from what you read in history books or what you read in almost anything that's talking about World War II. And it very much is a strange thing. We hear about the war itself. We hear about people getting actively in, the soldiers. We hear about the nurse corps and things like that. But when you're looking at nutrition and manpower, everything went to the war. And the government was putting out videos about every part of these concepts that affected everyone's life. And so as we're doing these watch-alongs, we get a couple more set up for next week. You're going to be seeing a lot more of that as the reaction of so much of what we were doing and what we were participating in was driving everything into how can we pick up where we need to and switch our economy over from a mainly rural agriculture economy into an economy that can win a world war. One that is actually so advanced at it that it was producing double, if not quadruple, the amount of airplanes, ships, tanks off their lines as countries that had previously already been mainly in manufacturing. And this was the big shift in America, going from an agricultural with some major production to being a major production just juggernaut. And this is the era that switched us over from being just another power to being the superpower of the world. And so as we're looking through these and kind of looking through the nutrition and looking through the manpower aspects, keep in mind what we're seeing here. Some of these same ways of doing ads and some of these same ways of putting stuff out are still around today, and we just don't notice them as much because this wasn't seen as propaganda at the time. This was newsreels. This was information. This was how we communicated what needed to be done. And so I urge all of you, as we look around right now, we're in a period of heightened stress and war posture, that look at the ads that you're seeing, look at how things are being presented, because how things are being presented, whether they're pro or against, all of it has some kind of message it's trying to get out to you. And again, these people, if we go back and look at some of the previous stuff, like if we look at the nutrition stuff up here, this is being put out as good, reliable information. There's nothing wrong with it. Oh, here's how you plant your garden. Here's how you cook, extending meat, cottage cheese. All of that goes back into that same thing of we're going to present you information, and some of it could be propaganda. And so keep your eyes open for that kind of stuff. Keep your eyes open to what we're doing and how things are being presented and handed. And we'll be back next week on Tuesday with another set of watch-alongs. I think we have 3 watch-alongs set up for next week where we're going to be diving into 1943. And we got kind of jumping around throughout World War II, and then we're going to get into some Cold War stuff after that. And then tomorrow we will be back live at 7:30 p.m. for Recon to take us back into the wasteland for our Wasteland Wednesday, going through Fallout 4, getting Fallout 4 perspective from a veteran as they're playing through it. So we'd love to have you join us. And again, we'll have probably a short version of this uploaded on Thursday. Check that out as well. And if you haven't yet, go over to facebook.com/mission4938 and give us a follow. It really is a great place to get information. All we're trying to do is build a community of all those that serve, all those that have served, and all those that support. Come in, jump in, be part of all the great stuff that we have going on. We appreciate you guys being here, and until We see you tomorrow on our Fallout stream. Stay strong, stay true, stay Frankie. Have a good one.